Shalom, I'm Rotem Magen for All Israel News, and we're here in the Notre Dame Center of Jerusalem. We're here in a special, unique event, bringing you an annual report of 2025 conducted by the Rotem Center of the attacks, violence, and aggressions against Christians in the year 2024. So they're bringing here in quite a in-depth analysis of the report of 2024 regarding the attacks. Before we go in and listen to the experts of the panel and the event, I'll explain for a moment where am I standing. What do we see behind me? We see the old city behind me, surrounded by the old wall. It is a gorgeous view, but we know that in that old city, we have Armenians and Christians, Arabs and Muslims living together in very close proximity. And in such tense times as holidays come together, as Passover colliding with Easter, and the holy month of Ramadan for the Muslims, it still is approaching to its end. And of course, the ongoing war in Israel, all this brings up more and more tensions in the small old city of Jerusalem, not to mention all of Israel. So it's beautiful, but tense. There's lots of traffic jams below, lots of honking, a beautiful sunny day, but let's go on and start the event. The event is actually a briefing, and it presents the second annual report highlighting developments in the ongoing harassment and attacks against Christians in Israel and East Jerusalem, along with progress in monitoring this issue. They share key insights from a December 2024 survey that examines identity, immigration, and other challenges facing local Christian communities. The speakers in the panel are experts in the area. One of them is Dr. Bernard Sabella, a retired sociology professor.
In the relationship in Israel and East Jerusalem, the relationships are more complex than black and white. So that, for example, I would say that a lot of relationship between Christians and non-Christians across are instrumental relations. So I go, for example, for a bookstore. I go for the grocer. I go for the doctor. These are instrumental relationships that transcend religious and national sentiments that I have, you know?
Yeah, and it's all over. The mix is all over. When I, as a Jew, go to the hospital and treated by an Arab doctor, this is very normal, and we're very happy for the care.
That's right.
Although there have been incidents in quotes that were negative.
But you freeze, in a sense, you freeze your religious and national and political sentiments, and you go for the function of receiving a good book, or a good treatment from a doctor, and so on.
Or a good hummus.
Yeah, and a good hummus, yeah. And so that is part of living together. And as mentioned in the panel, the problem today is we have lost the shared space between Israelis and Palestinians. There is a lack of the shared space.
That is not instrumental.
That is not instrumental. That polarization, that I look at you and I say, oh my God, she's Jewish or she's Palestinian, so I'm not going to talk to her, I'm not going to relate to her, because of what happened since October 7th.
So this changed since October 7th, you're saying, and this is, how would we in Israel like to say, the Jaffa, Akko, even Haifa, are mixed cities where you share the space. Would you question that?
Well, again, Haifa, for example, which is a mixed city and known for congeniality, of conviviality of living together, again, the Christian respondents there were divided, you know. Do you receive good municipal services? And they were not all saying, yeah, excellent. So there are problems of instrumental relations, you know. And I think Christians in Israel and in East Jerusalem, and this came clear through the survey, would like to have a more inclusive society where they feel more at ease, where they feel, oh wow, I am here, I belong, and irrespective of how I define myself.
Sounds like heaven.
It's going to happen? I don't know.
The survey, conducted among Palestinian Arab Christians in Israel and East Jerusalem, provides insights into their perceptions and attitudes regarding freedom of religion, Israeli Jewish society, state authorities, the role of the churches, immigration, and identity. It includes a sample of 300 respondents. Another speaker is Father David, a Bible teacher in the Bethlehem University. Most of the attacks are by whom?
So again, this was brought out in the conference that most of the attacks are done by Jews who can be identifiably seen as religious Jews, meaning they have a kippah. This was my problem of sometimes jumping to the conclusion that they're ultra-Orthodox because of somebody's imagination about what ultra-Orthodox are. So they come from a wide array of practicing Jewish communities. I brought out that among secular Jews that we encounter in the police force, in the municipality, there can also be a lot of hostility towards Christians. I would add that that needs to be identified as the sense that you did terrible things to us once upon a time, so you deserve the treatment that you're getting now. That's undoubtedly a part of the panorama.
During the briefing, we heard some interesting data, numbers, and opinions. We also received this in-depth analysis booklet that explains all of it. I like the image that they chose. It's the street of the Hanotzrim. It says a Christian quarter. Rehov Hanotzrim, written also in Arabic. It's the photograph with a surveillance camera because of the attack. So this is a very symbolic image to choose. Just to give you a feel of this report, I'll read to you one of the highlighted paragraphs, which is this. According to the testimonies we collected during our conversations, priests and nuns living in certain areas of Jerusalem, such as the Armenian Quarter and Mount Zion in the Old City, now faced an almost certain risk of harassment each time they step outside. So this is specifically, the attacks are specifically against the Christians that look like Christians. They're dressed in a certain way, like nuns and priests, and they're getting spat on, perhaps even pushed.
So on the most simple level, people wearing a cross, but of course the people who are very, very visible are people dressed like me. Monks, priests, nuns who are being spat at or spat on or being pushed, sometimes beaten. Church institutions that stick out on the panorama are being defaced or having Molotov cocktails thrown at them, and sometimes even desecrated. Yes.
Have you experienced this personally? Have you experienced the increase also personally?
So in general, I do not go about dressed like I am today. Okay? In general, when I walk around West Jerusalem, I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. So I am not identifiably Christian. But on occasion, dressed as I am because I'm going to some Christian function, I have been spat. People don't usually spit on you, but they spit on the floor next to you, or they might spit at you, or they might insult you with words, or on one occasion, I was pushed around by a group of young Jewish men. Okay, the most interesting encounter was walking down Jaffa Street as I'm dressed now. Coming towards me was a religious Jew, and he was with a broad smile on his face. One would think he was going to say hello to me. What he was saying, actually under his breath, and I'm sure he would have been horrified to know that I understood, was Amalek Tistalek, Amalek Tistalek. But there was no violence, physical or other, just the refrain when he saw me that he repeated. Amalek Tistalek means Amalek, get out of here. Mm-hmm. Identifying us, of course, with Amalek, the Amalekites.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They were enemies back then. for Israel.
Still identified until now as the enemy number one.
It's important to say that the Rotem Center is a secular Jewish center that's devoted to education and dialogue between the minorities in Israel and the Jews. And this comes across very clearly that this is secular because according to the Rotem Center's survey, there is no biblical perspective or eternal perspective that helps us translate the reality and the circumstances we're living in today.
I understand deeply the link of the Jewish people to this land, but interpretation of political developments must be according to international law. The Bible for me is not the charter of what we should be aiming for in terms of a political settlement. Jews who have immigrated here from elsewhere because of all kinds of socio-political forces. By the way, now many of them are leaving and going elsewhere, another part of the reality, with the indigenous people of this land, the Palestinians.
We should especially be careful of positioning any international human law above God's authority. As these reports and briefings are important, it's important to be in the know, it's important to understand the circumstances in which we live, we should be careful of letting this set the tone. What is the church's role regarding Israel?
So the church's role towards Israel is the same as the church's role to all of humanity. We are here to witness to who Jesus is.
Is there any special position for Israel in God's eyes?
Absolutely. According to the teaching of the Bible, Israel is the chosen people of God. Whatever Israel has done with that election, one thing we know for absolute certain, God is always faithful. God is always faithful. God does not go back on God's promises. How you understand that and how I understand that in the past and present is less relevant to the fact that God loves the Jewish people. Okay? What the Jewish people does with that love, the Jewish people need to answer to that.
And the question that is raised is, should we be surprised of persecution of Christians? And when we do face persecution, how much should we fight against it? Thank you for watching, and we would love to hear your comments about these topics. I'm Rotem Magen for All Israel News.